I think watershed, you know how snakes shed? They shed their skin and they get a new skin. I think it's like water, like a river or a lake. The water evaporates and then the cloud gets it and a new cloud comes in and it gets like new water. This one is when the body of water, like the ocean, goes to the dam, then it goes to the watershed where it's conserved, and then it goes to the cleaning station, and then I believe it goes through pipes and then to faucets and to sinks and stuff.
So in Monterey, you're in Monterey, water is taken from the ocean, in a dam, it's stored in a dam, is that right? And then from the dam it goes to the watershed where it's stored. And the watershed's a tank or some sort of container.
Yes. I didn't really know what a watershed was, but I know sheds are meant for storing tools. So I kind of figured that it's probably something that stores water.
Logically, when you think of a shed, you think of it as a place to store things. And so a watershed, I thought it might be like a place to store water. And I think it might be stored in big tanks or something. And it could be like purified. And like when we need it, it'll just go up through the pipes and to our faucets or sinks or whatever.
So tell me about your picture. The picture I see there.
This is a watershed. This is supposed to be like a tank to fill it and by a river. So
the watershed is a tank. It's a container.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think also like if you pay I think when you pay your bills, the watershed, like say I said it would store it, so it sends the fresh water to you. If like from a watershed, it sends the water in like a pipe, maybe underground, and it goes to your house so you can use it and yeah.
So how does water get from wherever it begins to your house?
So it goes. I think it goes from the ocean to a water treatment plant where it gets filtered and purified. Then that water gets sent through pipes to your faucet or your shower or whatever you need to use.
How does water get to your house now?
I think it goes to the pipes, but I've heard in Carmel River, actually, I heard this one day that they have wells, like wells that they take water out of from the ground. Yeah. For some houses and all over Carmel, but in Monterey we just get it from the faucet.
55? 55. Yeah, that's 95.
Wait, so World Ocean is...
Yeah, I think 60-90.
No, but then this has to be 10, and this...
No.
There's no more... There's not an... Atmosphere and soil is less than ice caps in glaciers. So we could put... We put 59...
Groundwater's like 98 groundwater.
It's like right there then.
Well, we'll have to use the smaller ones.
Yeah. 2, and then maybe...
Up there.
We were thinking that, when you hear ocean is 75%, land is the rest. We didn't really believe one of our table members that it was true. So he wrote it, and we wrote that there was 55% ocean. But when Mr. Spedding wrote it on the board that it was 97.2, we were like, oh my gosh, we were so off.
And I was surprised when I saw that number, 97.2. And also when I saw rivers and lakes and when it was 2 drops and how atmosphere and soil was 1 drop. Because like you can think of all rivers and lakes, how much there is in the world.
If you're standing in the lake, there's a lot of water.
Yeah.
If you're floating in the middle of the ocean, there's a whole lot more water. See?
I'm Larry Brown. I'm operations supervisor. I've been here 23 years. This is one of my lead operators, Linda Martinez. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide into 2 groups. One of the things with this facility is, as far as wastewater goes, it's one of the most advanced in this Northern California area, especially on the coastline. Most wastewater facilities don't clean the water up so that it's better than the water that you drink. because there's no need to do that. But because Pebble Beach wants 1 million gallons a day of clean water to water 7 golf courses, they have put in over $150 million to make that happen.
Dude, look it. There's like a mixing thing that mixes up all the poo and mold. Ew. Wonder what that's for. It's like under a light of shadow.
You'd never be able to tell. It's just got so much buoyancy in there. And then you'd have to probably go and get a tetanus shot.
In this lab, we do pretty much 3 types of analysis. We do physical, we do chemical, we do biological or bacteriological. The physical, we just test for, well, you saw all the tanks out there, right? So the water that goes in, we test to see how much solids are in before it goes into the tank, and then we test the solids that comes out of the tank. That way the operator knows whether they're doing a good job or a potentially bad job.
Places pay them to clean, they take in dirty water and they make it clean again, so other places like restaurants and golf courses can have clean water.
So they receive the water from events and sewage drains. Like some of the events are AT&T, and then they go through a cycle. So they collect the water, and then they run it through a filter, which takes out most of the crud in it, like I don't know, rings, jewelry, and then shoes maybe. And then they take it through another machine which just takes off the top part, the dirt on that floats to the top, and they do that twice. And then they put chlorine in it, and then they take it out. And then it goes through another filter, and then it's clean. And it goes to half of it, or part of it, maybe half, goes into the ocean. And the other half goes to Pebble Beach to water the golf courses.
So a watershed can be really, really big, right? It can be the size of half of a state. It can be really, really small, just a creek that runs through.
And today you're going to see a little tiny one.
A little piece of the bigger one, too, as well. So in these areas, it's where the atmosphere meets the earth. And that's what's so unique about these areas. The southern coastal side of the watershed. So this is where we are. This is the creek, and this is the Carmel River, and you're going to go out to the dam area. And then here's Monterey Bay right here. So this is Potrero, and we're right here in these mountains. You better
That water is coming from all the surrounding mountains, whatever direction, if you have a top of a mountain, whatever direction it falls into, could be either side, those are different watersheds. So you can see that there's a lot of mountains and little side canyons in this little part of Potrero Creek. So all rain that falls from the top of that mountain that we can see towards and runs down this side is going to end up in this creek or in this watershed, or maybe as that spring did there. It's going to ooze out of the ground or over the ground and end up down in this creek. Even if it seeps into the ground and then later comes out into the creek. So this is a small watershed, because generally speaking you're going to have, you know, other little creeks that connect and it's going to go further inland. So you're seeing
I thought it was pretty cool when we got to see the whole watershed, and then when we started walking down you could kind of piece it together about how the water trickles down and then it goes into the creek and then eventually into the Carmel River and into the ocean.
We took a hike, and when we finally got to the top of the hill we were trying to get to, we were kind of in the shape of a bowl, like it looked like that, and that the tops is where it rains down, and they have little creeks that go into the Carmel River, and we got to see one of those creeks. It was really cool.
So little creeks go into bigger creeks go into a stream, and a stream goes into the river.
Spillway, and when it rains really hard, it's not only here, it's all the way across and flowing really strong right off the edge here.
In terms of the health of this particular part of the watershed, I have come to understand and believe that it's much more healthy than areas downstream because there's less human development, very little human development up here. There are actually a few homes up in here. There's, you know, Jamesburg, and so some homes they're in their own mini watersheds that feed into different creeks that are part of this whole watershed. So James Creek and so James Creek is one of them that I'm thinking of. The source of the Carmel River begins up here, way over up in there. A number of years ago, about 10 years ago, I went with a small group of people and we hiked in from what's called China Camp up in here, and we hiked down, and then we started to go up one of these very steep hillsides to find what we felt to be the source of the Carmel River. So it's like a little tiny seep that's coming up out of the ground way up in the mountains, and that's where the water begins.
Turn on water whenever you want it, but a lot of people in the world, they don't have that opportunity. They have to carry their own water to their house, and they actually don't get to go to school because they spend the majority of their time carrying water and for basic needs such as cooking and cleaning and just living. And so does anyone want to guess, kind of, let's just pick some average numbers in California of how many gallons does the average person per day use in California? Or let's talk about our community first. Do you know?
20 to 50.
20 to 50, that's a pretty good guess. 100 is a very good guess.
50 to 70 to 100.
Those are great guesses. You guys are really right on. In Sacramento, it's between 100 and 150 gallons per person per day. The Monterey Peninsula is actually pretty good at saving water as a whole because we've had this water shortage for so long. We've put in low-flow toilets, low-flow shower heads. We are somewhere, depending on who you are and how much water, somewhere in the range between 50 and 150. But once you start getting below 50, you're starting to get, you're doing a really good job conserving water. And here's a picture of the fish spawning, and they make these nests called redds. But they like to spawn way up in the watershed, and the reason is if a big storm comes, the river can really rise up and get really powerful. And if they spawn way lower in the watershed, their nests have a chance of getting washed out. So they like to get as far up as possible. There's been 111 steelhead have passed San Clemente Dam this year to date. The peak of the run is usually in March, and there's been around 11 here, according to Dawn, where they get caught in the trap here. There's no fish ladder here, so they have to truck them up and over. We get our water, we're kind of unique in California in some ways because we don't get any water from the Sierras and the snowmelt. Many places in California get water from, like San Francisco gets water from Hetch Hetchy, which is in the Sierras and the snowmelt. All of our water is local here. It's from places like here, Los Padres Dam. It gets diverted in the lower parts of the river. They don't divert up here because then the steelhead wouldn't get to use the water. The ecosystem wouldn't get to use the water. In the old days, they diverted at San Clemente Dam, but it used to cause problems with the river. So now they divert in, if you guys are familiar with Rancho Quinana Golf Course, Earthbound Farm, down in that area is where they divert. That's one place. It comes from wells sunk in the alluvial aquifer. That's the sand and gravel that is below the river. It's all connected. Imagine filling your bathtub with sand and gravel halfway up, and you turn on the faucet for like, let's say 20 seconds, and you turn it off. You'd look at the top and it would still be dry, but there's water in between all the spaces between the sand and gravel. And then if you run that faucet long enough, eventually the water comes above your sand and gravel, and that's your river.
everybody else can.
And look right in the stream.
It's the
Yeah,
I got it. Do you see that white part right there? Right there. There's two. Yes, that's
No, it's the head of the tail.
You take it.
It starts when we pump water, and for all of you guys living on the Monterey Peninsula, we have about 70% of your water supply coming from this river. We have wells that are located much lower in the river where we do that pumping. But once it's pumped from the river, it needs to be treated to very stringent health standards. So we have several treatment plants and different methods of water treatment that are used to clean your water, make sure it's safe to drink. And then it's pumped through our distribution system. We have over 680 miles of pipeline buried underground that your water flows through. We also have storage tanks that you see around the community above ground where we store water. And that helps us really deliver a lot of water in a short amount of time, especially if there's a fire.
Those little fish go all the way downstream and they sit in that lagoon, which is part salt water and part fresh water. And they stay there for a little while and they get used to salt water. And then they go out into the ocean, and once they hit the ocean, a hormone, a growth hormone takes over in their body, and so little fish like this grow to big fish like that. And that's what you saw behind that rock, was a big fish like that.
So he'd already been to the ocean, you think?
Yeah, he'd been to the ocean. He came back. How big is it?
To go to the dam, especially when we went to the river and we saw some steelhead trout just swimming in the river, and it was cool how to see. I was expecting the dam actually to be a little bit bigger, but then when I went, it was kind of small. And when I went also to the river, it was huge. It was really big.
Tell me about the steelhead you saw.
The steelhead, they were gray, and they were. When they come down, they would be huge, but when they're born, they're like about that big, and they would have like spots on them, he told me.
So where'd that steelhead want to
go? To the river, from the ocean to the...
So the one that we saw in the water, where was it headed?
It was headed, I think, towards the ocean. Or
it was going downstream.
Yeah.
From what I know differently, that the steelhead, they do go into the ocean, but then they try and come upstream. But since there's a dam there, they can't go all the way upstream. So Don leads them into a trap, and he takes his truck and leads them to a spot above the dam so they can continue going to spawn up there.
The fish lay eggs under larger stones because with little rocks it might hurt the eggs, and the bigger rocks protect it. So sometimes when the fish are going up, they hit the rocks to kick out all the sand, and then they lay their eggs under.
How do you know that, Don?
Don told us.
Yeah, that was like mostly what I was going to say, that they just die. Or they might, go, back to the ocean and just leave their kids. Like I know some animals, they lay their eggs, wait till they hatch, and just let the babies go on and they go.
Mm-hmm. And the fish might go back, the large fish might go back to the sea again.
Yeah.
Some animals take their kids and train them to to do all the things they're supposed to do, like hunt, eat, and survive out in the where they live. And when they're done training him, they probably die or something. Yeah.
I'm not really sure how the dam provides water, but I know that I think it used to, but now they use wells more downstream, that the aquifers that just fill up in.
So the aquifer is downstream, that's where we get our water from. Tell me what an aquifer is.
Well, it's where you kind of store groundwater. It's a big area with lots of groundwater in it that you can pump up
to your house.
Is filling with sediment.
They can what? They can take it down?
They can take
Down.
it down. Okay, let's have Riley. And then you can say, for a solution, you could say that they're taking it down so the river can take it down.
There.
So that, we number it,
but they can take it down because then the fish will be able to swim.
If we number
no, we're
it,
talking
it'll
about
be
the same
easier to
commentating.
Oh, I thought you were talking about.
And then a solution for that is don't use like as much.
What about the steelhead red-legged frog? What's
Oh yeah, take shorter showers.
Her challenge is the steelhead can't come up the river because of the dam.
It's like blocking their way, and they can't go over.
And so the solution is the little trap. So they'll go up the trap, and Don will bring his truck, and he'll put them in his truck and drive them back to the reservoir. And
Another challenge is the Can't Dam is filling it with sediment, so they can't use it fully anymore. And
so the solution for that is they take it down.
People could take too much water out of the river.
And the way they could fix that is they could people could minimize the amount of water they're using, or the government could set up a specific water restriction time limit.
Today we're at river mile 10.7. This is called Don Juan Bridge. And at the ocean is river mile 0, right? So if you go up from the ocean, you go 1, 2, 3. The river's 36 miles long, the Carmel River, right? And the Carmel River Watershed is 255 square miles. So remember we talked about where this water comes from. We get rainfall events on the soil. The first few might just land on the top, and then the sun comes out and it might evaporate and go back up to the sky and to the clouds. But if you get a lot of rain, it starts to filter down through the soil, gets into the cracks of the rocks, and might seep out of the cracks at a later time. But you also get runoff, which contributes flow to the river. And so after these trees here, what we call riparian trees, see how they like to be close to the water and see their roots sticking out? They are dependent on being in contact to the water or in close contact with the groundwater. They're called riparian trees. They're willows, they're cottonwoods, they're sycamores. Versus the oaks up there, they can handle a lot drier conditions. So they're dependent on this water. And back during these drought times and when the pumping was really happening from the wells, pumping the water table down low, first the river would go dry, and then the water table would start to go further and further below the sand and gravel, right? Because the water's held in between the spaces between the sand and gravel called pore space. And as that water table drops, all of a sudden the roots couldn't get to the water that they needed, and the trees went under stress and they actually died. And then you can imagine the trees die, they fall in, and then winter comes and there's no roots holding the soil. So there was large erosion events. Like, look at this. This is Schulte Bridge area. This is just downstream from here. In 1983, El Nino year, big high waters came after a period of drought, and the banks were just falling apart. It was like you took a hose to a sandcastle that you made. Houses were going in, swimming pools were going in, and all that fine sediment was washing into the river. And you remember that big steelhead we saw? Well, they don't like fine sediment because when they spawn, they want to spawn in spawning gravel that's about this big. The sediment can actually choke their nests. So all of these things were causing problems on the river. So people started saying, you know, we got to do something about this. We got a river that's going dry. We've got riparian vegetation that's dying, and we have steelhead that are collapsing.
I didn't get to hear him very well because there was a lot of people passing by us at the time. But he said something about that people were bulldozing the trees, and all the plants and the habitats were getting ruined, and the river went dry after a while because there was there wasn't enough vegetation for it.
Adding on to what Damiana and Riley said about the water kind of drying up because bulldozers would go by. I think he mentioned that they were putting a lot of their sediment there, and that's why it was kind of dried up and there was a lot of sand. But What I remember that is that they to make more like trees and habitat. They took, I think, branches off of a certain tree. I can't really remember their name, and they stuck them in the ground.
Willow. Oh yeah.
And the stick could actually grow into a tree. So that's one of the things they did to help.
When it rains in the aquifers in the Garland Park, collect it. If there's too much water and they have extra, they would give it to Seaside aquifers, because that's where they're connected to, and they would give it to Seaside aquifers.
Because it's not going towards the house. I think that one.
Those aren't sheep.
No, I think it's this one.
Yeah, it's the right one. Yeah, but if you go to the left and it's going to the house, and so that
Maybe they're both there.
When people, when they just open the spot, when the steelhead are not ready, it could kill them because they're not used to the salt water that may be getting in. We mentioned that even if you do like a really small little path, the whole lagoon could come, and a lot of the steelhead would be forced out even if they're not ready.
Why would the lagoon be higher than the ocean?
Is it
The raining season, the season of rain. The rain.
Explain a bit more.
Like maybe if when it rains a lot, it kind of makes, like we saw that breach for the rainstorm, how much water from here was coming down to the ocean.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe because it's blocked in the ocean when by sand, and it's kind of like a dam a little bit.
The salt water, when it's going underground or it's in the ground, the fresh water kind of blocks it from coming into the lagoon.
I'm pretty sure that's right there.
It's fine. It's not that big of a difference from here.
I think stop through right here.
Yeah, I think it's there too.
No, that's where the sea. You know the sea. No, because there's that little, the little stairs. Then we made a left turn.
No, that was right here.
Oh yeah, right here.
You guys can even see the trail right here.
No, but that wasn't a left turn. That's a right turn. Dude, that's a right turn. That's a left turn. You know how there's two ways? That was a right turn.
No, I think he's right. We went this way, but the map is not complete. See?
Stop 2 was we saw the foam. We saw the foam on the water. So it's like right here.
No parking lot show.
No, that's dirt as well.
Wait, so you organize like stop 1. It was what it was is we learned about endangered species. The red-legged frog, how it's an endangered species.
The water goes rushing out when they open it.
It's like a vacuum.
The ocean is like a vacuum when they open it.
Sarah, what are you working on?
Well, I'm working with 2 other girls in our class. They're not here today, but we're doing the San Clemente Dam removal, and we each have a guiding question we are going to focus on. For example, I am doing the pros and cons and the process of the dam removal. And
my project I'm doing about water issues in Africa, and right now I'm just working on where they receive their water. So my first guiding question is where they receive their water. My second guiding question is how do they sanitize it, and my third guiding question is how do they use it. And right now I'm getting all my resources and research done for my my very first guiding question: where do they get their water?
And this all is my project.
botulism. So, table of contents. Introduction. What is botulism? Where does botulism occur? What are the causes of botulism? What are the symptoms? What is the treatments? History of botulism? What is botulism? Well, botulism is a very deadly disease that occurs in many ways. It could come from improperly canned foods or contaminated water and you enter it with an open wound, or if you're a baby and you're 1 year and under, you get fed honey, you can get botulism. But the cases here in America of botulism is very low. It's very medium. We don't tend to hear about it a lot. It could still happen and it's very dangerous.
San Clemente Dam Removal Project.
By Sierra,
Chloe, and Danya.
Okay, so this project is special in that it's a public-private partnership. CalAM, a private company, is working with public agencies. CalAM is the owner and operator of the dam, and at first they were going to strengthen the dam, as Donnie said. Then the State Coastal Conservancy went to CalAM and agreed to pay the rest for the removal by getting public agencies involved who wanted the dam removed and who could share their ideas.
Water supply. How could cloud seeding help California's water supply? Cloud seeding, if all works well, is a good way to increase California's water supply. A water supply is important because it serves 30 million people who each use 120 gallons a day and irrigates 5,680,000 acres of farmland.
The symposium last night was really fun, and I liked how we got to see most of the presentations. I thought that was really cool. And I thought my presentation wasn't bad. We did have some technical difficulties though, but we got through it. And if I were to do something differently, maybe to take that video at the end, maybe switch it with something else, because I thought like the video did most of the talking instead of me. But overall, I thought the project was good.
Well, I thought the symposium presentation was a very good experience. It was different in that the community, families, and ISM staff could be involved and see the different presentations for 5th grade. I felt my presentation went well, and at first I was really, very, very nervous. But after I began, I felt that I was getting more relaxed and more comfortable talking to the audience.
The people I did watch was Nicholas Besman, Mohammed, Justin, Dale, Tyler, Brandon, and Edwin. The reason I liked all these peoples was because they demonstrated the understanding of the topic, which like Mohammed, like all of it was covered, and I actually kind of don't agree. The video didn't really take over. He had all the information correctly and perfect.
Really cool. I felt like I was kind of like an older person, because like people and older and stuff like that have like in college have like their presentations not like really in the morning like we used to do like in the beginning of the year. And yeah, I felt responsible like Danya said, and felt like you could do it. Yeah, and then I think Cole and Alex's was really cool because they went into great detail, like always, and Muhammad did a good job.
So originally I thought that a watershed was a place where you stored water, because when you think of a shed, it's usually a place where you store things, and then water is water. But now I know that it's like a mountainous region where the rain, when it falls down, it would wash into creeks and rivers.
Nicholas, what about you?
Yeah, same thing as Misa. I used to thought that it was a shed where you stored water, but now I know it's a place where just water falls down into mountains, and then it just goes into rivers and bodies of water. And yeah.
I'm gonna read what I said. Okay. I think watershed is when like a snake
you know how snake has old skin and then it gets new skin? I think watershed is when water is evaporated from a lake into the cloud and then a new cloud comes and gives it new water.
Actually, that's kind of smart.
That's our water cycle.
No, so I wrote, I think a watershed is a place where they purify water, but actually what I wrote for my source was actually what the watershed was. So I thought that a watershed this would be what the cycle kind of looked like. And now I know that it is a mountainous region where the water comes down into creeks and rivers and eventually gets into the ocean.
So my interpretation of a watershed was correct. I thought it was, well, I wasn't exactly sure. I just made my best guess, and I didn't think, I'm pretty sure you can't fill a plastic shed up with water. So I just knew it probably was when it rains, water goes down mountains and hills into a creek or river into the ocean. And here's my picture that looks like lasagna in my dog handwriting.
So I actually kind of already knew what a watershed was because to shed water is to have it run down you. So I thought it was a mountainous region that just has the water run down it. And on a shed, why they call it a shed is because the roof is it runs down the roof. So yeah, but what I really got really wrong was that the glaciers and ice caps I thought were 70, and I thought the ocean was 18, which they're supposed to be switched around, and actually the ocean's about 99%. And the glacier's about 2%.
What, I thought my water came from the ocean and lakes and ponds, pretty much the ocean because we're right next to it. But I learned that, because I live in Seaside, and I learned that it comes from the Seaside aquifer and a little bit of the Carmel River. So I was way off. So
in the future, would your water be coming from the ocean? Is that a possibility?
That probably not because, well, maybe, but desal costs a lot of money, so it's probably a no.
I was kind of half right. I thought that it came from a river or a stream, but I didn't realize that there was a giant aquifer under Seaside that I probably get a lot of my water from.
When I first wrote it down, I thought how I got water was the people just channeled the water from the ocean into their giant plant that then just magically cleans it. But now I know there's lots of different ways to do it, like there's aquifers and water treatment plants and desalinization.
I think we should start saving water. Like, if you don't have a shower head that has a instant hot cooling head, then you should probably have a little bucket or something like that to fill up the water, and then maybe you could use that water to wash dishes or water plants or something like that. So
I think in the future we would have to probably drink out of aquifers, springs, and also wastewater, purified wastewater. But if we waste all these supplies, and eventually we might have to be using desal, and that costs lots of money. And yeah, in the future we might even have to use desalinated water. It costs a lot to make, costs a lot to buy. But a solution, maybe we could we could save the water we're drinking right now. We might even have to drink wastewater that's very, very purified, like I said, and maybe be more aware of it, that we're kind of low on our water supplies.
Josh, what do you think?
I think what we could do is we could probably all just like turning off your faucet when you're brushing your teeth could save a lot, or not washing down your car, or washing your furniture, or washing down your sidewalk. That could all, if everyone in the world did that, that could save a lot of water. And I'm thinking maybe in the future, in the near future, they might be able to build plants that do the same thing as, I think it was pelicans, that they cry out water, and maybe after that, cry out the salt, and maybe after that they'll have a genetic implant where you can implant that into somebody.
I have a bunch of different ideas that I got from Miss Brenda Lewis and Miss Carol Reed. One is to reuse water that you catch from your shower, or and you have it go to the toilet. Maybe you can have like a pipe that goes to your toilet and under the faucet, the drain. Another idea is similar to filter toilet water and use it again for the same cause, or use it for gardening instead of using fresh water. You could boil water. You could have cups or water bottles that filter themselves, which they already have. And unfortunately desal, which we might have to use. But I think we should probably cut off from the Carmel River because we use so much water and it's still restoring from its loss of water.
I think that we should reuse our wastewater. When it goes down the drain, it goes to a wastewater treatment plant, which cleans it, but you're still not sure after all it cleans, so you can pump it back into the aquifer for yet another filtration and pump it out into your houses. I'm just suggesting this because I know it works. Orange County's already doing this, and yeah. Well, right now, Cal-Am is pumping, as Brenda Lewis said, a lot of water out of the Carmel River. So if they stop pumping so much as they are now, maybe we could still have the Carmel River as a water source, and as well as the aquifer, because there could be the salt water could get in. So we really need to be careful about our resources now because it could really affect us in the future. And I agree with Danya that we should find some way to catch our water before it goes down the drain so we can reuse it. I think that it should go to a wastewater plant or some place where it cleans it and we can reuse it again.
And these are the different points, these are the ways you could do. So you reuse water in Monterey, and don't make a big desalinization in Monterey because it's expensive water and it takes a lot of energy, and it'll take out of our, because you have to pay to maintain it, so it would be just a big waste. So, use water wisely instead of just wasting it and just have a water gun fight or something. That'd be practically useless. And then get lower water usage appliances. You know that list? That we got a list of the things you could get. So get some of those. And you should also get water from the storm drains. Maybe just clean it out. But one of the problems is maybe pesticides, and if it gets in the water, those are hard to clean out. And use natural, for your plants, instead of the pesticides, and the fertilizer you use for your plants. Don't use natural instead of not natural, and don't litter, which isn't a big problem, but in Monterey, but just don't throw trash around, and then use water in many different sources instead of just focusing on one. You can use some from the aquifer, you can use some from desalinization maybe, and then use some from another source. the Carmel River. And so this right here is, so this is the fresh water and this is the salt water. And so the aquifer is going down and the salt water is coming in. So I think we should not use a lot, so don't focus on the aquifer. You take a little bit from each and use water wisely.
In the future, I think we should use groundwater, but use it wisely with the aquifer since we don't want saltwater intrusion. And we should also use stormwater, like rainwater, and we could catch it. That's what Brenda Lewis and Carol Reed both said. And since it's already really pure, then we wouldn't have to spend time purifying it. And we should always reuse our water too, like many other people have said. And instead of just letting it, like our shower water go down the drain, reuse it again and again. And instead of places where they clean water, like at the one that we visited, instead of just giving it to golf courses and back to the ocean, we should use it for the public and not give it back to the ocean where we'd have to use desalination to get it out again.
I think like everybody said it, but like reusing water from like storm drains and stuff, and like storm water pretty much. And I think we should in the future like buy more land kind of and get more like areas like cod pretty much, like more companies like that, so that way we can just keep reusing water so it never ends in a cycle. But if there's an emergency, we could use desal. Because if we because there's more and more people coming to Monterey and to California, so it's kind of like people are like using water and they're not using it wisely because they don't know the problems that we have yet. So.
And I have speaker slips, so we'll take those in order. And the first, we have a group actually from the International School of Monterey. So we have Chloe Berry-Smith, Sierra Brinton, and Danya Novak. So if you'd like to come forward, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Danya Novak.
I'm Chloe Berry-Smith.
And I'm Sierra Brenton. We are 5th grade students at the International School of Monterey.
This trimester, we've been studying the Carmel River Watershed and water use on the Monterey Peninsula.
We visited 5 areas.
For our research project, the 3 of us investigated the San Clemente Dam removal project.
We visited 5 areas of the watershed, from the Los Padres Dam to the Carmel River Lagoon.
And we interviewed 6 local experts. Carol Reed, a marine scientist from Hopkins Marine Lab, Catherine Bowie from California American Water,
Dylan Wade, the construction manager for the removal, Joyce Ambrosius from NOAA Fisheries, Thomas Christensen from the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District, and Trish Chapman from the State Coastal Conservancy.
We learned that all these people basically want the same thing, to remove the dam and restore the habitat.
Based on our research, we encouraged the Planning Commission to grant the permits to remove the dam.
The removal of the San Clemente Dam will help restore the river to its natural state and help restore the populations of 2 endangered species, the steelhead trout and the red-legged frog.
We represent the younger generation, and we're concerned about the protection of the Carmel River watershed. This project could be a model for other communities that are also looking to establish a balance between the needs of the environment and the needs of the people.
We take water for granted, don't we? We act like it's free and unlimited. Our class estimated that we use an average of 800 gallons per household each week. We love our long warm showers, don't we? But how many of us are aware where our water comes from and where it goes once it goes down the drain?
We feel that in the future we must rethink how we use water and conserve it. We need to find a balance between the needs of the plants and animals that depend upon the Carmel River and the needs of the residents of the Monterey Peninsula.
The Carmel River is only one part of a larger water plan. We feel that we must reuse our wastewater and storm drain runoff. We've learned that reusing wastewater is much less expensive than desalination.
We feel that we must find a balance between our need for clean water and respect for the environment by being more aware of how we use water, by relying more on wastewater treatment and conservation, and by viewing water as a limited and precious natural resource.
In conclusion, we encourage you to grant the permits for the removal of the San Clemente Dam. Gracias.
Merci.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Are there any?
Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I've had a lot of presentations at this meeting, and yours is one of the best, ladies, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
You know, every now and then, I think you might like to hear something from us. Nice, easy. But there's just one thing. You see, we never, ever do nothing. Nice, easy. We always do it nice and rough. But we're going to take the beginning of this song and do it easy. But then we're going to do the finish rough. It's the way we do Proud Mary. And we're rolling, ooh, rolling, ooh, rolling on the river. Listen to the story. Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day. And I never lost 1 minute of sleep, and I was worried about the way that things might have been. You know that big wheel keep on turning. Proud Mary keep on burning. And we're rolling, 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 yeah, rolling, rolling on the river, the river. Cleaned a lot of plates in Memphis. You know I pumped a lot of chain down in New Orleans, but I never saw the good side of the city.